much for what? I love this question. I love this question. I get it a lot. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at quoting and selling jobs and how you come up with that number. How do you win the bid, and how to assure your customers they get what they paid for, what they think they paid for. So there's always perception and reality. So how to be successful. On the left-hand side, I grew up as a workaholic. It took me close to 40 years of my life. I was probably 41 or 42 before my shrinkologist said, dude, you're a workaholic and you avoid your problems by working. I said, no, I work because I want to be successful. He says, we can call it what you want, but you need to have more family time. So you see on the right-hand side, to be successful, of course, is hard work, time off, which is time with your family and yourself, sleep, of course, healthy eating, and exercise. And if you think you get enough exercise at work, you need to beef it up a little bit, boys, all right? Or girls, whoever might be on. So anyway, we can all figure material and what we have on a job. I mean, everybody on this quote, on this conversation, I'm sure can do a takeoff. If you don't, we'll hold a separate class on how to do a takeoff in a boiler room, or maybe we'll come out and give you a hand with it. But so I don't want to talk about figuring out the material, because I think you guys have that, and you know to mark the material up to cover your butts, right? But you know, but I give the most elusive answers when I'm given this question, when I'm asked, what do other contractors charge per hour? Now I cover 6 states, from New York City, Long Island, south to Virginia, and out to West Virginia. So with that, Jason, what I would like you to do is put up poll question number 1.
There you go.
There, Ted, go ahead, read them up.
I call my competition. I wait until December 31st and see if I made money. I raise my prices until I lose 10% of my bids, or I know my overhead and my wanted net profit.
So answer it up. How do you figure your hourly wage? And this is what we want to know. Read them up and answer your questions. You got 50 seconds to do it yet. Answer it up.
Some good answers. Some good answers there.
Doing pretty good. 67% of those have responded. 2/3 are paying attention. A couple of them are making calls right now to find out what their competitors charge. How are we doing? 1 minute. Okay, ready?
All right.
14% indicated that they call their competition. 5% wait until December 31st to see if they made money. 10% raise prices until they lose 10% of their business. And 71% know their overhead and what they want to make.
God bless us. God bless us. So I can spin through this next section. You can end you can end that poll anytime you want, young man. There we go. So I call my competition. This is something I did back in 78 when I got my master plumber's license, or 79. And I called around to a couple of guys, to quite a few guys, to the most expensive guy in the area, the cheapest guy in the area. And the most expensive was at $60 an hour. So I came in at 55. I figured, what the heck? And 4 years later, I still had a 6 to 8 month waiting list for me to get in. So waiting until December 31st, that's what I was always hoping, that I turned a profit come to December 31st, because I wasn't keeping track of it on a daily basis. I raised my rates until I lose 10% of my bids, and that was the Contractors 2000 significant, what they told you to do when you went to their meetings out in California. You joined the organization for 15 G's, and they told you that kind of wisdom. And I know my overhead, and I want to know what my net profit is. And by net, that's not repeating myself. Net means after everything else is taken out, that's what you're actually left with in the bank. So after everything, that's your net profit. So cool. I'm glad you guys do that. So billing rates I've seen, because people ask me this stupid question, so I'll give you the stupid answer. Extremely rural areas, I find an average of $60 a day, $60 an hour. But in New York City, I find around $250 an hour, and $250 to show up at your house. So it's $500 for the first hour and $250 every hour thereafter. And it doesn't matter whether they're working in your house or running to the supply house, you're paying them $250 an hour. And that's just unbelievable. So we talk about overhead, and this is a neat little slide that I pulled off the internet. I didn't make this, for God's sake. So, but when you look at overhead, right, it includes, but is not limited to, salaries and overtime salaries. Workman's comp, which is one of our largest expenses being in the plumbing and heating trades. Employee benefits, which are the big thing we have to offer today to attract people to come work for us, which is things like clothing and uniforms, 401ks, medical insurance. People want all that stuff now. So vehicles and the vehicle replacement, because not all vehicles are forever. There's some contractors out there that I see still driving 15-year-old trucks and very proud of the fact that they keep them running on the road, but they keep them running on the road and it's not easy to do. Tools and replacement tools. How many of you guys, I'm sure probably 4 or 5 of you guys will answer, guys have left a ProPress tool, one of the most expensive tools we have, out on a job site, or they broke a jaw or did whatever. Building rent or your mortgage has got to come out of that overhead. Utilities for said building, liability insurance, equipment and vehicle insurance, taxes, including income tax, real estate tax, local taxes, all the taxes you have to pay to every freaking township that do work in their township.
Taxes? You gotta pay taxes?
Hey, there's 2 things you got to do: die and pay taxes, right? Accountant fees, because we all have to get our books straightened out, and you make sure you have an accountant so at the IRS you have less of a chance of being audited. Capital funds for future expansion. And that's if you want to buy a building, or if you want to get bigger, or you want to buy extra trucks, got to have some sort of emergency slush fund. And profits for daddy. I like putting that in there, profits for daddy, because in the long run, those of us who own businesses do it so that eventually we can retire with something in our pocket. And I put all these up here because I see guys all the time that used to work for me who would say, I can do this at half your rate and get twice as many jobs and be more successful, because they haven't taken all these things into account. And all of a sudden they figure out why the billing is 150 or 200 or whatever an hour you get. So it's pretty important. There was a company out there at one time that was saying, to add on to this, how much money you want to be able to have in the bank to retire with. And I saw people 15 years, 20 years ago, actually 25 years ago, trying to charge $275 an hour back when the going rate was $60 in my area. And they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get any work. It's amazing. And then, we have our big box guys, your Horizons out there that are getting $4,000 or $5,000 on the weekend to put in a 40-gallon gas water heater.
When I was working at Dieter's, we were doing flat rate. And Jamie, you've been in there how many times? It was flat rate. And this is going back in, early 2000s. I mean, you were charging, $1.59 just to do a pump strainer and nozzle replacement and
Yep.
oil. I mean, now imagine what that
I had
costs.
that eye-opening experience back in the early, I guess it was the late 80s. I thought I was doing great back then, charging $60 an hour. I went to one of those flat rate seminars, worked through the whole form, and found that just to show up in the morning, if I wasn't charging $102.37 or something like that per hour, I was paying to go to work.
And,
Way back then.
and now
So-
and Ted, your territory, Steve, your territory in Boston, you got these guys out like Foley going out servicing these guys. They're not walking in the door for nothing under $100, $200. It's not even because it's high efficiency.
So once you add up,
Have their wives doing their books and not paying her a penny, and they don't even count that in the overhead.
exactly, and they should be paying her, Ted. Absolutely.
If she's doing the bookkeeping, she should be paid as a bookkeeper.
That's right.
So you take all of these expenses and you figure them out for the annual purchases of these, and then you take that as your overhead, you divide it by your billable hours, which isn't necessarily 40 hours that you're paying your guys for. I'm talking about billable hours. Most people are at 30 billable hours a week per person, and you divide your overhead by the billable hours, and that's your billing rate of where you should be. And if you're not doing that, you should be. So Jason, if you would, launch poll number 2, please.
There you go. Have you ever figured out the true overhead?
All right, so what's your true overhead? Once, many years ago? Yeah, this is actually pretty simple. Insert your choices. You either did it once a long time ago, yes or no. Should be pretty easy to figure out your answer to this one.
Oh, we don't have any music, so Jason,
Oh shoot! Sorry guys. Yeah, I'm messing up here. I gotta get my downloads up.
well, it's too late now because we only have 30 seconds left. So if you haven't gotten your answer in yet, please click on one of those answers. It's not a tough decision. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, if you want to.
I think the same
Eeny,
2/3 of
miny,
voting.
mo.
Oh, there it goes.
Yep. So
Almost 53, 54 seconds. Here we go. Approaching the 1 minute mark. If you want to vote, vote now. Okay.
all right.
16% have responded that they calculated it once many years ago. 37% say yes, and 47% say no.
Huh. So if you would end that end that poll, Jason. So that's funny because on the earlier answer, everybody said that they knew what their overhead was and knew their billable hours. And here we are, and we soon see that 47% of you say you have never actually figured it out. And if you've never done a business plan to try to get investors, like opening a brewery or something silly like that, if you've never looked at things in this way, I would strongly suggest you start doing so. It may be a large eye opener. So
So you're telling us you've investigated this under the brewery side?
no, never.
No,
So
No,
anyway,
no, never. No. Okay. Yeah. And a bear doesn't live in the woods.
did you know now that we're off overhead and billable hours, did you know that jobs are rarely lost on price and are almost always lost on confidence? It's a confidence level, boys and girls. It has nothing to do with, I mean, some people will take the cheapest bidder, but we all know that only a rich man can afford a bargain. And we, the three of us here, get calls every day from people who've had a job put in incorrectly because of a cheapism. You just can't do it. The rules of economics will never outweigh the laws of physics, and you got to be able to do it. So build your customer's confidence, your whoever you're selling to, through education. And I don't mean sit there and tell them how, what a BTU and flow rates, and to get your flow rate you have to take 10,000 BTUs and divide by blah 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 blah. No. Show them your quality of workmanship through pictures of past jobs that you're doing that are like theirs. Get testimonials from your customers who you've worked for. Talk to them about the quality of material you're using. Maybe you're buying from a supplier that's only doing U.S. made iron and copper. Though I find that hard to believe because that's hard to find these days, but you could do it. Tell them what's included in the job and the scope of what you're going to do and provide to them. Give them drawings of the job with your name on them. You can do that in Visio. You can do that in the Takeo in the Takeo HVAC app. Tell them how serviceable it will be for you to service these units in the future.
Steve, some of the wholesalers will do that for them.
And just as importantly, explain to them what happens, how service happens or doesn't happen when they take the cheap bid that doesn't have valves.
That's right.
Exactly. Talk to them about the remote monitoring that's available through our Wi-Fi equipped boilers like our TRX and our FTVN and soon to be our TFTN. Talk about service and service contracts and how the unit will work on Wi-Fi and how that whole operation works. Build the confidence in your customer. Don't drop your price. And I say this because I watch guys do this all day long. They go in for a job and they tell them they're going to do a boiler for $18,000 and their competition's at $9,000, and they drop their price in half and get it to $14,000. All you've done at that point is proven you're going to rip them off for $4,000 instantly. That's all you've done. You've lost all the confidence. So don't do it. Build confidence through education. Tell them that you're going to be treating the water. What's that, Jason?
Before you go back too far, I know a lot of wholesalers that may be watching this will provide drawings for the contractor. So if you don't want to do a drawing, maybe they'll give it to you. You're buying a boiler from them, so maybe they'll work with you.
And when a wholesaler provides you that kind of service, you buy your boilers from him. You don't go out and shop it and find it for $10 less money after he's done all the work, because they are doing it for nothing in hopes that you'll buy it from them, so they make the profit there. So
And if you do that, all you do is force them to never do drawings again, because they can't afford to do it for nothing and then have you go away.
yep,
They have a vested interest in it. That's why
So
they're
you
doing it.
can't bemoan the fact that your wholesaler no longer provides service and at the same time be stabbing them in the back.
exactly. So the best thing you could do is, besides offering good, better, best, which I'll get to in a minute, is ask them what you would like to take out, but better yet, tell them what you're going to do up front, right? So you can take stuff out later, but in the beginning one, the first time that you go in there showing them the bid, tell them that you're going to clean and treat the system to give the boiler the longest longevity it can get on the heat exchanger and give you the best economy. Tell them if you're putting in a magnetic strainer on the return to protect the boiler and to protect the pumps in the system, so it can work forever, or not forever, but for as long as it possibly can. You know, you remove the magnetite, you increase your efficiency by 30% of your heat transfer. Tell them about your new expansion tanks. Tell them about your low loss headers. Tell them about your air scoops and the way that they build up the get rid of the air and give you better efficiencies, not only on the pumps, but on the heat transfer. And for God's sake, if you're going to save money by going to a 95 or 96% efficient boiler, save them electric too. Put in the ECM pumps and tell them about that. Jason is dying to say something, and I'm just not willing to stop talking.
Well, I want to say, you go back to the water quality thing you just talked about. Sit down with the homeowner and say, listen, you will buy a new car and go to the dealer and say, listen, I got this old 50s Chevy that I want to trade in. Can you take the oil from the old Chevy and put it in a new car? They're not going to do that. So right there, water quality is huge, Steve. And I'm glad you bring that up, because they're not going to transfer the oil from their old car into the new car. They don't want to transfer that crap from their old boiler to a new boiler, right?
So Jason, on that thought, would you do me a favor and launch poll question number 3?
I will.
So that segues right into, do you regularly ensure your boiler water
I
quality?
didn't even look at that. Wow. That was perfect.
Nah, I just flush clean water and leave.
Oh, that's funny.
I use chemical inhibitor. I use cleaner and inhibitor. I use magnetic filters, or all of the above. So here we got
Or
some
the
real-
last answer, hell no, who needs it?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that was a question. That was a good segue. That's a good segue. I was just thinking about the analogy of the, used car and the new car.
So answer them up, boys.
Here we go. 52% have responded. Time's ticking.
I always say, and Steve, you can probably, think about this and add something to this. But if you take somebody's boiler, a customer's boiler, and put it in their front yard so all their neighbors can see it like their car, I bet you they're the best money you can buy. It's all about
Here we go.
Let's see.
All right, do it up.
Here we go. 22%. Nah, I just flush with clean water and leave. 6% use chemical inhibitor. 17% use both cleaner and inhibitor. 22% use magnetic filters, and 33% do all of the above.
And that poll, would you, Jason?
Got it.
So for those of you who answered line number 1, you've apparently missed at least 3 sessions of Thirsty Thursdays where we've talked about nothing but water quality. And we are the only manufacturer who actually shows you pictures of how and it's not NTI, it's not Wow McLean, it's not ECR, it's not Burnham or you, it's everybody. The heat exchangers will go if you don't treat the water correctly. So water tube less susceptible to it, fire tube more susceptible to it, but magnetite, or what we call iron oxide in the field, that black shit in the water, will kill the boilers and reduce heat transfer. So you have to make sure you clean it. So
Repeat that, because everybody has this view that fire tube is problem free. Repeat that.
So I'll repeat it one more time. We've gone over my choice of heat exchangers a few weeks ago, back in December. A water tube, because it has a high velocity going through it, is less susceptible to failures caused by magnetite or iron oxide in the system, whereas a fire tube, there's a big open chamber with the little holes where the fire goes through. The water comes in and moves very slowly through there, and you have a much higher chance of the magnetite attaching to the tube sheet unevenly. Then you get uneven heating on the tube sheet, and it will crack the tube sheet. So, and when you say, hey, I have a warranty heat exchanger, and we tell you to take the burner off and take a picture, we know what it looks like when there's magnetite underneath. And I now carry and have carried for over 3 years now a 4.5-inch diamond cutoff saw, where I come to your location instead of spending the money to send it back to Canada. I do it right at your location and cut a hole into its little heart and show you all the magnetite or calcium inside. So please, folks, if you're not treating the water, do it. Please, please, please. Everybody is preaching this. I don't care what boiler manufacturer you go to. Everybody's preaching it. And now even the cast iron guys are preaching to do it with the cast iron boilers.
Listen,
So
it's not hard. They have, and we'll talk, Steve, you'll see it next week when we do a training up in New England. Ted, I show those electronic testers you can buy from Amazon. They're going to tell you exactly a pH tester, you can buy them if you don't want to use the strips. But guys, you're out there doing a preventive maintenance every freaking year on a high efficiency boiler. You should be doing that. That's like Steve said, it's printing freaking money. It's printing money. You could sell them a filter, right, Steve?
That's a different session, but obviously
you.
those contracts are
But
crazy.
something else, why I got your attention, something else I want to bring up. Anthony Tossi also mentioned, now, Anthony Tossi from Wales Derby also mentioned, don't forget the rep also provides that same service of doing drawings. So you got guys like him who are willing to help you, take the help. Listen, Anthony's been around a long time and he knows.
Well, and when it comes to water treatment, and I'll get back on the track here, when it comes to water treatment, please check with your local wholesalers, because a lot of them offer training on just that. I know there's 80 training going on often up at Johnstone, New Jersey. So, that's just what I'm aware of. Patty does it all the time. So anyway, perception versus reality, folks. Perception versus reality. This is one of my most favorite subjects that started happening in my first marriage and just continues on in my life. Perception versus reality. So what is your customer buying? They're buying a warm house, and they want hot water to be able to take showers. And if anybody can mention the movie that's in, that would be great. The top one and the bottom one, nice warm tubby. And this is what the people are buying, right? You don't buy a whole salt.
Day off?
You don't. Yes, it is. You don't want. What's that?
Which movie is she in?
I don't know. I just took that off the internet. But when you buy a whole saw, you don't buy a whole saw because you want strong teeth. You want a whole saw because you want a hole. People buy a boiler because they want heat and hot water. So you got to follow. But this is what they expect. This is what they expect, and this is the perception of what they got. So a lot of times when things go shitty, this is what they think they've gotten. So this is what you showed them you're going to do. This is what they thought you were going to do. And this is what you ended up doing. See, this is not where you want to be. You want to give them the perception of picture number one and do picture number one. A shoddy guy who's cutting corners and went in at half your price is going to do number two. And the guy who's going to just throw it in and run away is going to do picture number three. And we get those calls all the time, because then I get these phone calls. You need to do something right now about my $25,000 boiler that is not functioning. And these are the calls that everybody on your screen, me, Ted, and Jason, get all the time, because in their mind, they have a $25,000 Honeywell boiler. Because, wow, that's right, their thermostat's a Honeywell boiler, but they happen to go downstairs and see that the boiler is actually NTI, and then they call us, and where we perceive the boiler as being an actual $3,000 cost, and they're telling me it's worth $25,000, and I have to do something. And I'll tell you what, all of us on this call will tell you that we will not respond to this customer until they tell us who the contractor was. And we make some sort of excuse to get off the phone, and we'll call you first. We'll discuss the situation, because a lot of times you're not going back out, because out of that $25,000, they still owe you a crap load of money, and we don't cut corners with that. We only go on jobs with the contractor who is involved with the job.
We don't go on jobs without a contractor. Never.
We're not insured to do work on the job. We're not going in and taking money out of your mouth. We are not doing any of that. We will only go on the job with you. So keep that in mind. So phrases that cause fear. I'm sorry, but that's never good. I have no heat. That's usually Friday night at 9 o'clock. And then my most famous, we need to talk. And when your customer calls you up and says that, or your first ex-wife, you know what I mean by we need to talk. So phrases we hate to hear. This is what they think they got. This is what they did get. Both of these jobs work. Both of them provide heat to the house. They don't operate the same, and they're not both as functional as each other. My hat's off to Mike Flynn for the picture on the left, and the picture on the right. I just that was given to me, and I forget by who. If it was you, please let me know, but don't raise your hand right now if you did that job. So when you go out on a job, you should offer good, better, and best. So my point back then was give the customer what you told them you were going to do. So now offer good, better, and best. See, good could be a cast iron boiler or a combi boiler. Better would be an S20 wall hung and a FTVN. And best could be a TFT and an 80-gallon indirect water heater. See, you can do this and let your customer pick what they want to take out of the job or what they want to put into the job. I find that most of the times when I'm talking to the homeowners with the contractor, that the homeowner almost always picks better or best, rarely picks good. And you're doing nothing but competing with yourself here, which is excellent.
There have been professional surveys done. Your anecdotal evidence is absolutely right on, Steve, because there have been professional surveys done when people have that choice of, let's say, good, better, or best. Most often they have buyer's remorse that they didn't take the more expensive one.
Absolutely.
And they would have taken it had you done a better job of explaining it up front.
Bingo, Teo, bingo. So now let's have a brief conversation of combi versus indirect water heaters. You know that combi boilers represent probably about 70% of the units that we sell, not our cost, but the units, number of units sold. And I can tell you that they're sold on one thing, and that's finances. Rarely is it on room unless it's going into a condo building, but that's a different application. So on the left is a combi, and on the right is an indirect and an FTVN. So Jason, if you'd be so kind as putting up poll question number 4. Boo.
I got it, buddy. There you
All
go.
right. Have you ever discussed your domestic hot water supply with the customer? No, combi boiler or nothing. Or I walk the house and inspect the bathrooms. I discuss with the customer their expectations, or I don't go near domestic hot water. 4 choices.
Steve,
Answer them up, boys and girls.
Steve, I like that last picture you showed. Those, I love those decals in the boiler.
Yeah, that's my buddy Joe Rudden out on Long Island. Does every one of his boilers, he custom labels every one of them.
Every one of them I've seen.
Yep. Phenomenal.
That's an extra touch. You know what I mean? Extra touch.
Keep a track of time, Teo. How's it coming in?
We're good. We're at 57, 58, 59. 1 minute. Everybody wants to vote. I hope you voted. We're still at our roughly 2/3 that vote. Okay, here we go. Nobody says, and this is 0% of the respondents say, nope, combi boiler or nothing. 22% walk the house and inspect the bathrooms, the fixtures. 67% discuss DHW, their expectations with the customer. And 11% don't go anywhere near DHW.
All right, end that survey, bud. So anyway, nope, combi or nothing. I'm so glad. Gosh darn it, folks, all you guys on and girls on tonight, thank you so much for saying that. I couldn't be more happier because, you know, combis get pushed down everybody's throat, and I'll be honest with you, don't fit all holes, and we get those calls all the time, and we've had to figure out ways to get around how to provide the water that you need. I walked the house and inspected bathrooms. Of course I did, because a heating guy can go anywhere in the house. And I always walked through the bathrooms to see what they had, and I also asked their expectations as to, do you plan in the future to put an addition on that's going to have a Whirlpool tub or your fancy schmancy shower with the 10-gallon-minute water head and the 4 body sprays and the 2 shower heads, and you're going to spend a half an hour in there. And I, that's the way it was. And being a plumbing heating guy, I don't really comprehend not doing domestic hot water, but that's besides the point.
Were you also that guy that walked in the bathroom and said, "Carpet in the bathroom"? No. No.
Oh my God, the 70s were horrible with that, with the peel and stick.
It was the nastiest. What was that plush carpet like that? Never put carpet in a bathroom.
Well, and if all you have to do is look at a piece of baseboard that rotted out in the bathroom, and just think about what's in that carpet that never got clean. Oh God, it's gags me. Anyway, all right. So guys, one size does not fit all feet. Here's my size 11 shoe store here. They sell all size 11s. No matter what you want to come in, you're getting a size 11. They don't care whether you're size 6 or 14. You're getting a size 11. And we can't think that way. So when you start looking at combis, first, when you say to the homeowner that they have unlimited amount of hot water, you make it clear at the gallon per minute. For instance, a 110 will give you 3 gallons a minute. A 150 will give you 3 gallons a minute, 4 gallons a minute, and a 200 will give you 5 gallons a minute. 3, 4, and 5. 110, 150, 190. That's at a 70-degree rise. No more. So when you go telling these people you're going to get unlimited amount of hot water, 3 in a minute. So you can't do that. You can't do that. They need to know their limitations, because as soon as they get happy with that continuous hot water, they're going to go out and buy a Kohler shower tower that's peel and stick from Home Depot, put it up against her, hook it up to their bathtub, and now they're getting 10-gallon a minute through that body spray setup, and they can't get enough hot water, and then they want to know what you're going to do about it. So make sure you educate your customer. Make sure you educate them about the length of time for the water to arrive, because now all of a sudden they're used to a tank water heater, and now they have to wait an additional 15 seconds for the water to get hot to get to them. And I can tell you this, that I've had many phone calls saying, "Oh, your boiler wastes so much water. Oh, it takes so much longer for the water to get to my shower." So either put a recirculation line in, as we show in our installation operation manuals, or explain to them that it's going to save energy, but it's going to cost them an extra, 4 gallons of water to get it there. So note, I'm going to smack people in the head. Do not oversize a combi boiler because you think they might run 3 showers at one time. No. You take a 200,000 BTU boiler that lights off at 80,000 BTU that's making 2 gallons a minute at a 90-degree rise, and they're washing their hands, and that boiler goes on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. And folks, it doesn't work well. Do not oversize. If anything, undersize them. Go by the house heat and see how much domestic water you can get out of it. Then start talking about the advantages of an indirect water heater. Besides the fact you don't have to clean it because they're not affected by hard water, besides the fact that you get the water stored, the B2s are stored and it's ready to go. There's a recirculation line on our tank, so you can put a recirculation line right back to them. Besides the fact that it's there and ready to roll, and you have dump volume. Now I say dump volume, and I put this here because of our new S20W. The new S20W will give you a continuous flow rate better than our S60, because we have so much coil in it, which is why we give you a 3-way thermostatic valve with every single one. There's so much coil, it overshoots. It's unbelievable. But know this, if you have a Whirlpool, it's not going to fill it. You got 18 gallons of usable water there. It ain't going to fill it unless you fill it slow. Unless you pull the sensor down lower into the tank, it's not going to sense it until you get this, 80% of your used volume. Know what the dump volume is and what you need in 20 minutes. By dump volume, I'm not talking about what you do before you go to work. I'm talking about filling a Whirlpool in 20 minutes or your 20-minute shower. Please make sure that you do that. Delivery time much quicker because you're storing the BTUs in a tank that loses virtually no heat at all. This isn't like a 40-gallon gas water heater that loses 3 gallons an hour and every 4 hours fires whether you're using water or not. It will stay there. Trust me, folks, it's less than half a degree an hour that you lose on these. It stores it. I turned mine off and went on vacation for 2 weeks, came back and got 2 showers before it actually fired. Please don't do it. Recirculation works great with tanks. So, anything to add there, Jason? You look like you're ready to jump on something. So, to wrap it up a little bit, know your worth. For God's sake, guys, for every 10 people we lose in this industry, we're gaining 1. That's sad, sad, sad. But that also means that we're under high demand. And most people on this call, and I've looked over the list of people who are here, you guys are working 8, 10, 12-hour days. Know your worth and get paid for it. There's more doctors and what's that?
I said, and get paid for it.
Yeah, get paid for it, for God's sake.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up that combi thing. That's just the one subject that gets me. The oversize a boiler just to get 200,000 BTUs to waste all that energy. I'm just glad you brought that up. That's a really huge thing. It's waste energy.
If you grew up in my household, you would have gotten smacked if you took a shower while your dad was in the shower. So we never took 2 showers at a time, and our water line wasn't big enough for it anyway. So
it was like what, 5/8, 3/8.
It was so old, it was galvanized, and it wasn't that big of a hole. So anyway, know your net worth, boys and girls. Give the customer options. Give them good, better, and best. Be your own competition. Build the confidence with your customer. Make sure that they know that you are the best out there. If it means going to your printer and making a little sheet that shows a customer's testimonials and a pretty picture of your logo, and a thanks for having us come out and giving you an estimate on your job. Give the customer what they want. Find out what they really want. You'll be amazed at what the customer's expectations are and what they really want, because they've never been given an option. They buy a new car every 2 years and a new boiler every 15 to 30. They don't know what the boiler is. They just know it was a pain in the ass the last time they did it. Give them the options because they have no idea. Give them what they want. Find out what they want. Give them what they need. If they need 30 or 60 gallons of dump volume, give them the volume. Give them a 60 or 80 gallon indirect. And size the boiler for the house. Oversize the tank so you have plenty of BTUs stored up in it. Explain to the customer what they are getting. Explain to them their pick of their good, better, and best. When they say, "Oh, I like to have the good," you say, "Okay, that's not a problem. But if it were my house, I'd put the TFT in a storage tank in." But sell it how you can to not piss the customer off or chase them away, and give them the confidence what they're buying. Before you do your takeoff and before you do your finals, RTFM first. That stands for read the factory manual first. Of course, I never used to say factory, but they told me I have to be politically correct.
You never use factory. There was another choice word for the.
You can put whatever adjective in there that you want.
It starts with F.
Exactly. And rhymes with quack. I'm sorry. Price the job to allow you callbacks if there's a problem, and first year service. None of your competition is saying to these people, "I want to be back here in 12 months to inspect the boiler to make sure there's no leaks, to make sure that boiler's running just fine on combustion, to make sure that the combustion chamber's clean." Yeah, pull the burner door on all of them, including the fire tubes, open them up, inspect them, spend an hour and a half there, make sure everything's peachy clean so you know what your service is going to be like in the future.
Yeah, don't hire the contractor that has the analogy 30 feet or 30 seconds as far as they get away from the job. Some guys look at that, believe it or not. They'll look at it like, once I put in, I'm done.
That's coming. So never drop your price. Go in there with confidence. Go in there and know what you're getting. And know that if you can't get the job for the price you're doing, there's other jobs out there to have. We're all so busy. If you're not busy right now, we got to talk, because guys are so busy they can't get help. They're running crazy. They're trying to train people. I got guys training lawyers to be plumbers. I got guys taking cooks to be plumbers, and it's crazy what the workforce is about today. So please make sure that you get what you need and never drop your price. Love your customer. And this isn't easy to do. You know, I've walked away from my share of jobs as a contractor because, well, I couldn't love my customer. I knew I couldn't live with them. And, you know, the way that you do that is now take your price and triple it so you are the highest bidder without reason, give them no confidence and run away. And lastly, don't be an install and drop guy. Don't be the guy who goes out there and gets a great dollar for his installation and then walks away from the job without any service. We get this all the time. We get these calls on a daily basis. Oh, can I have a contractor in Lower Kalamazoo? You know, who's the first guy? Oh, I can't reach him. He left me. And we always want to try to get in touch with you, but there are a lot of guys who do the slam it in, don't replace anything, literally cut 2 pipes, put in 2 T's, and get the hell out of there and run like hell. And we see it all the time. So with that, guys and girls, I'm just going to say that's it. I'm open for any.
Thanks for watching the video today. If you'd like to check out more videos, see the link below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for all the future updates. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.